Apollo 13. This is Capcom. We are good for go. I'm going to correct good to go sooner or later. This video is really all about guns, gun violence, SSRIs in particular. I don't really even want to get into it's about why gun grabbers are just like the guy who called me what was it, hobophobe, homophobia, how you're basically illiterate. It's one guy actually said several times in Facebook, that's not a word, I looked it up, man. No, it's illiterate. Someone it's not exactly dyslexic, it's somebody who never reads. I'm sorry, I'm getting the usual morning outflow. I'll be a little blanky. For your information, I've mentioned it in previous videos that I started publishing, broadcasting. That's to speak aloud. That's the legal definition of publication. This is a publication. It's copyrighted technically. I am the copyright holder. But I had already been working in fields of cannabinoids and lecturing and teaching and researching and stuff and speaking at events when I figured it was time to go on air. And actually in 94, they were giving me this hard time because I didn't live in Travis County. They wanted to charge me extra and all the other for producer fees and stuff like that, all this. And I'm going like, okay, I'll just go with open studio. But I started my television broadcasts with a young man named Alex Jones who could not climb up out of the bottom of the Nielsen ratings to save his ass because he was attempting to do what I was doing, which was a very professional, calm, scientific presentation of the facts. And while there's some animation to it, I am a normally animated, expressive speaker. I kept it strictly professorial, collegial, etc. And until one day I really realized it was time to use a dramatic tool. Yeah, I did it. Yesterday, I was faking mania. Yeah, I was angry, but I said, okay, let's channel it. Because in the studio that day, I was angry because the people that are guns for hire, I always taught my students that, especially in biomedical research, what is considered truth, which is a matter of convention, often frequently changed. I'm using a term that Barbara Tuchman used a long time ago about truth and it being a matter of convention. The people decide what, but in science we do have hard truth. And so one thing, I decided to shake up things because I had a huge audience and Alex Jones was struggling like shit. Really, they were in there, he would tape all the editing and stuff. He was trying to do that kind of, he was working on, because, there's no way he could eat that much and stuff like that and drink that much and not have belch. You've seen me just belch, Homer Simpson style. I don't give a shit. And so one day I decided to do the Patty Chayefsky thing. I'm not going to do it right now because consider me like yesterday when I was doing full blown mania. And I did I'm mad as I don't want to disturb everybody because my voice projects and there's a bounce right there. So, consider what I did yesterday. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you in full manic. The Patty Chayefsky, remember the Network movie? I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And Alex Jones saw that and realized that, yeah, it's okay to. And actually, people who don't like the way things are going, they identify with somebody who's angry. I was using a dramatic tool to catch your attention there and to fully give you what's inside of me when I'm actually a very controlled, tight-ass kind of person, really. I've told you about the strict regimen I'm on. I'm pretty sure hobo I couldn't perform and make 2.7 million miles. And actually, a lot of stuff that Alex Jones said about football, he got that from me. There was a lot of things he was, but that angry man thing, you know, he then went into it and started researching and realized that, yeah, it's like, didn't like ratings go through the roof when the TV anchor went into his angry rant before the boss called him in and told him about the global economy, is that you can't really go bucking it and stuff. It's what I was using a simple tool, please, I'm a natural actor. And most of the time I am, even when I'm doing my hypomanic delivery, that's the real me. I tend to think and speak very fast, and I do know I need to slow down because the auto captioning, because I'm trying to check the numbers, it's going down, but closed captioning and auto captioning is, but there are people that have difficulty hearing, yada yada. I understand that you're not going to get a lot of even simple words like curb. If I'm not enunciating slowly and properly, like I am now, auto, closed captioning won't work right. So, a few months ago when I was recovering in between in and out of the hospitals and physical rehab, damn, they wouldn't hardly give me no dope. They knew I had high pain tolerance. They'd already marked me as a patient that's really not going to whine about it. I saw Alex Jones. I know that was him. Please, I know the man personally. I watched him go from 170 pounds to 340 pounds in 10 years. I know that he's a mythomaniac and a fabulist, kind of like hobo, but no, much grander scale. And he was driving a red convertible Mustang, late model. It had like a different colored racing stripe right from the middle of the hood to the back and top down. And that was Alex Jones with his arm up on the passenger seat. I'm already 7 minutes heading towards for another trip somewhere. That shit he says about Bohemian Groves, I've been to Bohemian Groves. Anybody can walk in there. I mean, I'm one of the people that was eating his ass. I was one of part of a whole gang of people that was trolling him back in the day when he still had a Facebook page and shit. We were like me and Mark Hirschberg that runs with scissors. We just constantly catches every technical error and historical misrepresentation and shit like that. And I was on there talking about how me and my brother Rolf just walked in the front door of the Bohemian Grove. This is kind of your bonus round in advance. In what was it, 73? We'd already pulled in there once on coming down the Russian River, and you can just pull up in a canoe and stuff and get out and wander around. There really did. I didn't hardly see no fences. It's not really. If you think there's some kind of secret meetings going on there, he says we kind of, is what he say, we kind of snuck in. You don't have to kind of sneak in. You can go in the front door and a man greets you and go, what would you gentlemen like to have to drink? They got leather Queen Anne's and wingbacks and nice comfortable chairs, and we had a drink, and that was about it. And on the Russian River, I was just going like, I don't see any fences. This was back in the that was around 70 71. You can land on the Russian Riverside in a canoe and just walk on into the club. Well, we kind of snuck in. We snuck, and he went from we snuck into the Bohemian Grove and watched their secret rituals of worshiping the owl god. Okay. That was your bonus. I've had my first cup of fresh brewed, fresh ground, sugared, and real half and half French vanilla. Okay, the vanilla was made from cow turds. Okay, big deal. I don't know. I really haven't read whether they may actually have real vanilla in it. I mean, like the print on that thing is like I need a 2-power microscope for that one. Binocular. Okay, I think I got one guy's boring gun guy or something. I got one anyway. And for those of you, I can tell a lot of my subscribers are conservative and religious. The people that, out of the 500,000 people that have watched me in the last month, I know that there's going to be a tiny percentage that, just like the people around here, they love, chatting with me, stopping. People have got their BAs, their masters, and sometimes their PhDs. This is not a, please, we got like Dell, Amazon. I'm just surrounded by people that are high tech. They're not stupid people, and they love hanging around with me. I usually tell a pretty good story, and I'm pretty entertaining. So I really want to address in this is I've studied this subject, neurochemistry, psychology, that kind of stuff. Chemistry have been one of my major preoccupations. I really haven't studied that much of the non-biological. I haven't studied engineering, how to make, I leave that up to, we're so good. Me for a second, I think I need another one. Please listen, because many of you already know what I'm going to talk about, but I want to talk about 2 drugs in particular, because those were the only 2 drugs that I did a supervised test on and observed. Well, actually, he wasn't there during I had to report, but it's still the same thing. I did an official, discreet, and oh, hang on, because this ties into the Andrea Yates who drowned her 5 children in, what is it, Clear Lake, south of Houston, the NASA area, where the astronauts lived and shit. They used to have all their homes clustered down there. It was during the 90s. I was having, I was really, most of my life was slender. I've already told you. Some guy, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people last night was bitching about me smoking. And I'm going like, I don't think you'd be bitching about Einstein and his woolly hair, or you chewing on his pipe all the time. Huh? What's up with that? So politely, fuck you. So I can't remember what it was. It may have been E3. Please, this is a doctor. I'm going to name him because he's related to the famous General Chenault, who was the head of the Army Air Force before it was separated into the Air Force. What was it? The Chenault's Flying Tiger? What? Flying Tigers? I don't, And he was a pilot too, from kind of a family obsession too. A doctor was John Scott Chenault. He managed to last 20 years with me. I already told you kind of part of the story. And I was having some problems. I just couldn't even and I think I'd run out. I didn't have any left because I have a tendency to be overly generous with my weed when I'm growing. I give it to anybody, poor, fucked up, glaucoma, chronic pain, cancer and shit. Always gave away at least 50 to 60, and especially when you're growing pot. All your friends, they think they're entitled like half of it. No, I'll cut them off at like a quarter pound. That's it. That quarter pound ought to last you at least a month, motherfucker. Don't be coming back here no more. You're pissing me off. And I was having, the point I was making is most of my life was very slender. And I mean, really, 38-inch waist. Come on, man. With 38-inch waist, and even my muscle, I lost a lot of muscle to the, yeah, that was actually when I just started making, it was the second. So I can't remember the period. I'm trying to drag it up, but it may have been around 96, 97, when the pain of the interstitial bridging was really getting to me a lot. And he said, well, there's a new antidepressant. It's a SSRI-like drug. It's not exact. But he says the numbers on increasing appetite are really good. It was called Remeron. Yep. You know, I socialized with the doctor of pharmacology who knew the doctor of pharmacology that was dispensing to Andrea Yates. And she got it from the horse's mouth that, yeah, at the time that Andrea Yates drowned her 5 children, she was taking Remeron. And my doctor told me the standard, prescribing recommendations of the manufacturer, which was he said, take it. It had some sweetener in it. It was a quick dissolve tablet. He said, take it before you go to bed. And it's right there before leaving his office. I'm going like, take it before bed. But then the nicothymeral cycle peaks during the night. Are they trying to enhance it? Are they trying to retard something in there? And I'm going like, no, I need to do it conscious. So I had to go to the lumber yard. Woodson Lumber Company. I'm actually telling you where I live right now. Where I live. I really hate being a public person. But I've really been a public figure my whole life. My first article published on me when I was 8 years old. And so had finished picking up some lumber and shit, and then I was just taking a breather, and we chat. It's a small town. There's like a bench, like the one I'm sleeping on. It's out front. I'm smoking a cigarette, and I go, yeah, this is a good time. And I pulled out the blister pack of Remeron. He gave me a sample out of his drug room, and because the drug reps he had already told him, I've got a guy here he's a critical. I mean, his opinion matters. His opinion counts. And his reports are consistent. We look for inconsistencies. Rick Musty, who did the first big scale in Arizona MS and cannabis for relief of MS symptoms, oh, he would weed out anybody who was inconsistent in their answers. You were gone. So I took it. I think it was orange flavored and sweet. It had some kind of, sorbitol or some shit in there. But didn't really read all the ingredients and stuff. I just did a test and quick dissolve, and in a matter of minutes, I looked perfectly. I had no nystagmus. I had no motor problems other than the psychomotor part related to speech. And I could stand and walk. Nobody could actually tell until I opened my mouth. I sounded like I was hammered drunk, although clearly my tracking of my eyes, everything was normal. Oh my God. I was going, that's horrible. I shouldn't drive home. Please, this small town, I can leave my vehicle at that business. And my uncle, who really only started driving a cab in his old age just to do something, you dollar going, dollar coming back. Dean Bill, $7. He just mostly likes, just driving around and feeling like he's still, workaholism runs strong in my family. And so I actually had to call handicap transit for pickup and shit. And I had to tell my black cousin, Lonnie Faye Carol Alexander. We're related through the Carols. And yeah, Please, my great grandfather was not afraid of black women. Please, he's, black women like white men, especially white men that treat them nice and provide them with everything they need. Better life than they ever had or any of their ancestors ever had. Please, some of the shit y'all hear about slavery is bullshit, complete bullshit. We didn't want to get in the slavery business. We wanted Europeans and stuff, but the cost of bringing a European over, Europeans didn't want to pick cotton and cut your fingertips up. Reach into that cotton bowl, you people say shit you don't know nothing about. It's like it makes me angry all the time. That's why I tell stories. I try to give you extra information to block your stupid ass criticisms. Or, you're trying to take pot shots at me. But right then, I knew that, because this is related to gun violence and SSRIs. Because we tend to always find these guys that go nuts and shoot up the place. They've been on antidepressants or something close to that. Usually SSRIs. Never tried Prozac, but a new one came out. It even had the name Peace in it. Paxil, Pax, Paz, Paz, and La Paz in Spanish. I need to try to normalize my dialect. I've been speaking in so many different dialects and languages and shit lately. It's fucking up my normal. This is my casual, non-professorial delivery. And so that's the story of Remeron. Andrea Yates is directly tied to that. 5 children. She drowned in the bathtub. And so I took one pill. And it was good because a doctor who violated, because I held my mother's from 95 on, I held my mother's only legal attorney, in fact, power of attorney. Only I. Because when you're in the hospital, technically, they get you to sign shit. No, you actually need an attorney, somebody who holds your legal, lawful. Because when you're ill, you're not competent to sign any kind of contract or enter any. And hospitals get away with it all the time. When you sign on the paper there, you can, whatever you've agreed to, you're ill. You're not competent at that moment. You don't give a fuck what they say. That's the law. You can throw out any contract. Anytime you walk into a medical establishment and sign anything, it's not really binding. Fuck you. My family's full of attorneys. My best friend's an attorney. Talk about this shit all the time. Well, not all the time. We got past a lot of points, but 23 minutes. Because later, Dr. Robinson, who was my sister's doctor, he was actually working in a hospital, and right off the bat, I said, "Did you isolate the pathogen?" And he really hadn't run any tests. He began giving her antibiotics. I'll get to that. Try to get back to that. Let me try to remember Dr. Robinson. Let me earmark dog ear that page. I took Paxil, and within a matter of a few minutes, I could tell that within me, although I looked and sounded just like I do right now, there was a rage that if anybody triggered me, I need to stay out of any kind of social contact, and I just went home until the dose wore off. I reported that to my doctor, and later I reported I was the only one. I was actually staying in my mother's apartment in a retirement community. She'd gotten very ill, and actually I tracked down the pathogen. It was the black mold that, while the place is normally just spotless and immaculate, it was owned by the Methodist Retirement Center, and the guy who was the head of the Methodist Retirement Center was the principal who resigned under public pressure because I told him, I'm not playing football. It's a long story. Football for this high school anymore after he kicked me out of the school for my work in free speech and civil rights. And then after a week, he realized, oh shit, we need him on the football team. You getting all kind of, why'd you kick that Kruger boy out of school? I mean, what he said was all school grounds. It was in a public park. I mean, freedom of speech, motherfucker. You know, hey, Jimmy Stegall, what the hell are you doing? Why is that Kruger boy going around like, it's summertime and living's easy. I'm shitting in high cotton, baby. I thought I was just, I didn't give a fuck. I was 15. I had, no problem getting, everybody wants to hire a big, strong man, can do the work or two, man. Yeah, I just really didn't, talk about I was kind of like a real professional hobo because I could get a job anywhere that would be permanent if I wanted to stay. And shit, I could just wanderlust anywhere I wanted to because I had the skills and the strength and the drive. But having known that, and I realized that Dr. Robinson was a complete fuck up. I said, doctor, she's a glaucoma. You do know that I'm really bad around doctors. You do know. And he wasn't the first one. I had to correct another doctor who was trying to give an antibiotic to my mother. I said, you do know that there is no antibiotic that can control the particular herpes strain that is responsible for Bell's palsy. My brother Charlie hugged my mother for the first and last time and transmitted the Bell's palsy that's found in the San Francisco 49er group. And also found they're looking at it because they're trying to talk about prions, because they also have a cluster of Lou Gehrig's ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis there. And I knew all of those guys. And I spoke to Dr. Apple in Houston, who was conducting the study. It was in People magazine. So I was living in my mother's apartment because it had to be rehabbed for her return. I was not going to let my mother die in a nursing home. She did eventually because my sister interfered and got a false, because I can't, and actually that made me so angry. My siblings gave not a penny of assistance. I was having to use all my cash for the refurb and paying, and all of her, because being power of attorney, she's incompetent to spend her money. Of course, I have to give them all the income that she knows, both from oil and gas and Social Security, and more from me. And I was literally almost not sleeping, and was, I actually was smoking roll your own cigarettes. That'll lead to loss of these. I was living off it, wasn't hardly eating. I'd usually work all night and stuff because it's hard because she had damaged her bed. I mean, literally, and then I had to build a special bed for her and stuff, and it took actually 3 layers. They had all kind of, and it was all that cleaning, and that's where I discovered that it was the black mold. And I told Mr. Bethard, that you got to spray that fucking dumpster, man. Bleach, get a 2.5 gallon and spray that entire goddamn dumpster, because that's what's making the women sick that's anywhere close to it. Because it was right behind the kitchen. My mom she has a little balcony and stuff like that, and it was inside my mother's air conditioner. Greg House, motherfucker. If I told you, actually, we're a lot of part of that. All I gotta say is the Rhode Island group was negotiating with me, and that was after. And then, funny thing, they immediately went into production. And then, I know this sounds like delusions of grandeur. That's the problem I have with a lot of doctors. Then about 3 months after, I told them no. Then all of a sudden, this brand new series pops up. Greg House, MD, who walks exactly like I do when I'm having trouble with my reconstructed leg, and like I did right after reconstruction in 1970. Seriously, you on the outside, you illiterate motherfuckers, your opinions, it gives me a chuckle. It tickles my giblets. So I came in one morning because I was always there because they were really, because actually the summer of 98, after I returned from San Francisco, all of a sudden that August, all the old folks in town got sick. Black mold, possibly. That's what I was saying before I broke out. Dr. Robinson, you do know that antibiotics can blind a glaucoma, it can cause them damage. And another doctor, I told her, and the next thing you know, my mom's got aphakia. That means non-lethal shape. Her eye looked like an alien eye. It was like a oddly shaped horizontal slit. And that was the end of her doctor. Okay? I took her to my doctor, and I monitored everything. Okay? My mother, you're going to do it my way. And he knew that there would be hell to pay because I'm come from the most famous family to ever come out of Burleson County, Texas. Well, at least the Caldwell area, well, yeah, still the most famous with more time on television and TV and all periodicals, all printed name. All every time the name was printed goes into the hundreds of billions of individual prints. And I came on in one morning and I realized there was something different about my mom. For one thing, she was in a room with an old black lesbian who would creep up on her in a wheelchair and she'd start her hands down. She'd put her hand down like on her shin and just kind of keep going forward until she got up towards the cookie zone. And she just loved old white women. You know what I'm saying? Miss Shug, Whoopi, Color Purple. I'm going to tell the snuffler thing shortly. I just want you to be sure to be able to have clear view of my. Right now, I feel like Dr. Red Duke, who always hid his upper teeth, and my doctor used to wear kind of a longish mustache because he drank tea heavily. And I mean, yeah, he'd drink a half a gallon of tea during his typical day. And man, if you're drinking a tea drinker, tea stains your teeth worse than coffee does. And if you have to brush 3 times during a professional day, or either that or kind of keep a stiff upper lip. Anyway, he didn't. So, before I go in 33 minutes, I don't give a fuck. It's up to me to produce. It's up to you to watch and learn. So, I noticed that there was a difference, and she had an edge. She was, there's only one guy that came up where you have individual rooms, your own individual toilet. It stopped the death by transmission disease just radically by more than 50%. It was and stuff. And there's, last I checked, long time ago, was only about 400 facilities like that by that design. And they always had green spaces and everything. But everybody had their individual toilet and stuff, their own separate sanitation. And my mother was a sanitation freak. We Jews tend to be. And so
if all you gotta walk is like 2 minutes.
The morning Walmart worker crowd showing up for coffee. It's 3,000 feet away. It's over a mile to have morning coffee and go on their morning shift. And the one guy in the middle, he looked like he was working them. Looked like a moocher. So I could tell my mother was having trouble fighting her urge to be rude to the black woman and tell her to stop running her hand above her knee. And she was trying to go all the way, all the time. Constantly was catching her, trying to, because I was there from, I think they would usually let me in by 6 in the morning, and then I'd be the last one dragging ass 10:30 at night, and I'd work all night for 6 months. My siblings didn't put in. My sister dropped by once with a little card that was actually addressed to me because I'm the attorney. In fact, I brought her like you can't. A person who's having continence problems and stuff, you don't bring them like a full nightgown. They don't really. And she brought like a pair. She really was. My whole family just. Well, we're afraid Kent's go. Yeah, because Kent has the divine right to kick your ass because you were engaged in a fraud against my mother. Yeah, you're not going to show up. But they're using me as an excuse. If you show up, as I've always done before, please do come in. I can be extremely diplomatic. If my mother wants to see you, her children, I will be the perfect gentleman. Even though I hate you, want to kill you, want to mangle you, etc., I will still treat you smiling eyes. Yes. Yes, Melanie. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Oh. But not sarcastic. So I went to the charge, the nurse's station, and I said, let me see my mom's chart. I don't fuck around. Boom, Paxil. No shit. Right then I said, get Dr. Robinson on the phone, motherfucker. Oh, didn't say motherfucker. Get him on the phone. As I began composing in my head the letter to discharge him, because he needs it in writing too. And trust me, I had it done within the hour. I called him up and I said, I told you, no prescribing to my mother without my prior approval. An antidepressant? Of course she's depressed. But not, I told you, we already had this about the antibiotic thing. You were giving her a potent antibiotic by huge volumes when you didn't even know what the pathogen is. The pathogen was the spores of black mold. And you are discharged officially. I am Thomas Kent Kruger, the attorney in fact, on record in your records. You will be getting my notarized letter as soon as possible. You're gone. And those nurses, actually one of them, the black guy, she ended up, choking on my pickle, They like guys like me. Women love ass kickers, but unfortunately, y'all usually hook up with these punks that couldn't cook anybody's ass except their own, So what the hell's up with that? 37, 38 minutes. The problem in this country is not guns. The problem is that, and also, shit, when you're talking about psychotropics and shit like that, y'all are a bunch of hypochondriac. Give me some pills, doctor. It's not the guns. It's the people who are pulling the triggers. And sometimes it's the drugs that they're taking that are even legally prescribed, especially shit like Remeron, Prozac, Paxil, whatever. It's not the guns. Let's not turn into another, Chicago, Massachusetts, one of these restricting people's. That's the problem, though. I'm going to finish with this. I had a guy who was talking to me. He lives out in the country, and he's trying to. I completely understood. He was relating to me. I relate to him too. I was trying to tell him I spent most of my adult life living in an unincorporated area, in a rural life, on top of the highest hill in Burleson County. I'm actually the rightful owner of the laws of equity of a multi-million-dollar home in Burleson County. I left a voicemail for Troy Pale yesterday, our longtime constable and shit, telling him, Troy, I don't really think I want to come back. Don't think I'm coming back. I'm probably going to let the litigation lapse. And I can go back anytime because of the medical thing is, see, I can't write, and I'm doing pro se. And I write with my left hand. See how long it's taken me just to get it up on the screen? It's already getting fatigued. So, it's really, you disarm a population, or like Hitler did, you begin the registration of all guns, so that the dictatorial types, like the cultural Marxist, far left wing, they want to be able to do any hedonistic caveman mindset. You've heard my terms before. They want to do their paraphilic, love is everything. I love meth. Meth should be sold on every street corner. No. I'm kind of a soldier who's still recovering from a war that was not like Vietnam. It's a war that needed to be fought. And I will still continue to fight that war. I am pro drug legalization, except for the drugs that I know to be bad, which is almost all of the over the counter and prescription drugs are absolutely toxic, useless shit. And cannabis and stuff, it's recreational use of morphine or something like that, it's okay. It's recreational. It's under, of course, if you fuck up, first time you fuck up, you ain't got a vehicle anymore. And if you ever get your vehicle back, you're going to have a big bumper on warning sign on your bumper. I have my own little plans for the way things ought to be. But I can never, ever induce the use of several substances, paraquat, which is still the number one used herbicide by governments, the military, and in farming to kill big, hardy things. I think that's what the guy used who did poison the treaty oak, or we signed the treaty in Austin. That's why this kind of became Austin. It was named after my great granduncle. The signing here with the Mexicans, or as they say, Mexican. Okay, I can't. I don't want to do any more dialects right now. So, they remember the big scare about paraquat on the weed and shit. You could actually, if it had been paraquat, you'd have been able to spot it. And shit, that wasn't, but it's all over the place. And paraquat causes dopaminergic defects. I'm saying that quite clearly. Cocaine causes dopaminergic defects. Methamphetamine and other amphetamines cause dopaminergic defects. Paraquat causes dopaminergic defects. The societal expense of curing for what is usually a lifetime neurochemical defect, we have a drug for treating it, controlling it. It's an analogous to your natural chemistry, but it's still not a complete cure. It's a lifetime dependency on. We could legislate that drug be sold at cost of production, which would bring the cost down from, well, now it's since Trump, shit, the good neurochemical analogs are through the roof. So I'm still going to be against its use, because while they're still using it before they get captured and shit like that, they tend to harm a lot of people. But I don't have any qualms about what I did, because primarily it was like intel gathering, listening, and trying to pass myself off as often a rich kid kind of out slumming. You have to be so snotty. You have to act that French or the real. I can't say we English don't. I mean, John Cleese was the king of indignation and snobbery. So, for those of you who don't want people to have guns, you need to get a life, get a brain. You need to stop being illiterate. You need to read something more than Louis L'Amour or those Japanese anime books where they rape little girls, 4-year-old girls and boys and shit. I actually saw one of them magazines once. So if you're using an anime avatar, you're not going to subscribe to my channel. If I see an anime, you saw me go nuts on that communist pedophile the other day. And now that I've spent 45 minutes of your time, I think it's finally time for my second small dose of fresh brown, fresh brewed. Fuck Starbucks. That's like liquefied automobile tires over. That stuff is horrible. So, and it's already warmed up 10 degrees, and The next hour, we'll be up to 71 degrees. It'll be a nice non-hot winter day, because I've had one winter I was wearing Hawaiian shirts and shorts and sandals. Christmas Day, I see it was like 85, not creeping up on 90 degrees. It was a little warm to be out and about. Anyway, happy Hanukkah. It's just a few days. Good morning, dear. She's a regular.